Yeah.
Now, again,
Yep.
this is just a recording just for, my own sake, I want to say, for stuff like that. I know that you're a very crowded person with a lot of like follow up and stuff like that. So basically, what was the reason for my first call initially? Why am I here? What am I doing here? Well, I'll be honest with you. I have had a thought or thoughts in my head that have been following me for quite a while now. And I know I'm not talking about suicidal thoughts or thoughts that are like, bad. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
war, it's terrible, it's incomparable. We live in completely different realities uh, that both exist in the same world but in different places, right? But right now I am getting medicated. I am doing my best to get kind of like on the mental side of things. I do kind of go to a sanitarium from time to time to get myself cleaned up and checked over.
Mhm.
My family situation, I'd like to keep a blank on, but let's say I do have relatives that are fighting for my country's independence right now, and so forth and so forth.
They're kicking
Uh,
ass at it, by the way.
yeah, well, let's say that they're doing that with casualties as well. Everybody has to understand that no matter how great everything appears from the outside, you have to understand that the bigger picture is that no matter where we go, there's always going to be casualties. So
Of
these
course, yeah.
ideas, these thoughts, what are they? Where do they come from? Why do they haunt me? Well, originally I watched one of your videos, your most popular video, which is Metal Gear Solid 2, most profound moment in gaming,
Mhm.
right? Related to Hideo Kojima and the way he predicted the fact that we will all exist in these echo chambers of reality, information, plus the artificial intelligence becoming much more prevalent and much more, I want to say, aware and apparent in every facet of human being right now. So I wanted to kind of find a solution because my system of values effectively has been crumbled. What, like 1 year ago and 2 days ago, which well, this is where the world began on the 24th of February. So my
Yeah.
system of value got crumbled, right? And I had to come up with a new system of value. This I'm a human. I'm an adaptive kind of creature, right? So what did I do? I started researching AI. I started researching stable diffusion. First, it was DALI Mini. It was like these horrid images that didn't even vaguely resemble anything looking human. But as the months went on and became better and better and better and better, then it was the Chat GPT. Now Bing basically has that incorporated in
Yeah.
the system. So we're getting faster by the week, I want to say. We're not even talking about years here. And I'm witnessing a certain something. All right. So I'm a human being. I have a specific height, specific amount of hair I have on my head, my forehead, everything. I fulfill a niche, a role, so to say, right? I don't have a set fate in this planet, right? But I do occupy a role. Somebody must occupy a role. For rich, there must be poor. For tall, there must be short, and in various degrees of the in between, right? So I
Yeah.
began wondering, how could I maximize human happiness on this planet, right? And
Mhm.
I turned to, the film. Everybody's using the lingo now, the jargon, the matrix, was it's like red pilled, blue pilled kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I got an idea. So what if we actually input everybody in the matrix? We do find that source of, let's say, renewable energy, human body heat or whatever. It's a theoretical scenario. We're not talking about ramifications for reality here. All right. And we put them in a situation where it's not a perfect world per se for everyone, but personally for you. Exhibit A.
Mhm.
Let's say we have a person that is born a Superman, a son of Krypton, the last of his kind, born on the planet of the Earth, and he is born to be special. But the world is unfair. The world is hell. It's unfair. It's absolutely unbalanced. But you are the one, right? So it's not necessarily that the system around you is made that it's perfect for everyone because your brain could not process that. It's more like, oh, I am so much better compared to the rest and everyone else around me that my life is good. And every single day, this artificial intelligence, this matrix, right, this architect, director, let's call him a director, right? Director would be a good terminology. This director would throw every single day some kind of a new scenario. Oh, today's going to be Beach Boys episode. So I'm going to get your butt out and we're going to do some surfing on South California. Miraculously, next day we're doing hiking in Hong Kong. And 2 days later after that, hey, we're with David Bowie and we're, performing Space Oddity in front of the live stadium crowd, whatever it is, right? That's one way of going about it. It's to provide people with this ideal fallacy where they are much better than their surroundings. Because in Matrix, if you remember, there was this one character that everybody forgets. His name was Cypher. Now, Cypher didn't like working with he didn't like working with the Zion. He didn't like working with Morpheus. He said it's still a prison in a way. It's just it's incomparable to life. So what he wanted to do, he wanted to get back to Matrix. But what did he ask of Smith? He asked for him to forget everything and to make him rich and famous. So it's not necessarily the fact that it was a lie that he lived, but rather the conditions and the hierarchy that Cypher occupied in that Matrix world that made it for him like, oh, my current job sucks. I'm some kind of a schmuck in a small firm and I do something here and there. What if I go and I become the one? Oh, becoming the one is actually worse off for me because I get my girl stolen by this Neo guy. Now no one really appreciates me. What am I going to do? I'm going to go back to the original place, have a better bargaining chip, get myself loaded back into the system, right? And get myself a better start. Mm-hmm. So that's one solution. Another solution is basically pro-moralism. Basically, we all hope for, have you ever heard of the band called Tool? And they have a song called Anima. Anima, I believe. It's something to do with it. And it's like, Anima, like wishing for a tide to wash it all away. Basically, we all say, you know what? Eden is impossible. To create personal heaven is even more impossible. Let's just all wish for a tidal wave to just destroy existence as we know it. But then again, that's like putting a bandage on a problem. Eventually, life will suffice even after some kind of a great cataclysm. Because here's my logic. Let's say that we have suffering and we have enjoyment. All right. So the absence of suffering means that absence of life, right? It's a very simple antinatalism kind of thing. So if something doesn't exist, sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you just give me 1 minute? I just need to get something from the other room.
No, of course.
Yeah, just 1 sec. All right, sorry about that. Please continue.
No need to apologize. I understand that as well. That's actually part of the reality. The fact that, something had to stop, something had to happen, we had to continue on, and that was part of the destruction. So there is no such thing as a perfect reality. Right. All right? Because eventually something will happen like this to throw me or you or something off balance. So I kind of see the two ways for humanity. And that's, again, this is a cope. This is a coping mechanism. This is not me wanting to dedicate my existence toward searching for these things. Maybe I will. I have no further notice of what my life will be 2 weeks from now on. I live in such conditions, right? Yeah. But I found that there's two copes. One, we create a personal paradise for the humanity where everyone is their own Superman, and people around them, or these people, quote unquote, these machines, programs, NPCs, whatever, right, that follow you around, exist as a merit in which you compare them to yourself. It's like there's this amazing promo by Vince McMahon, WWE wrestling. Yeah. It was 2006. And he says, you look at these men and you compare yourselves and you realize that you're nothing more than less of a man. And for some of you, you might as well just admit it, that life sucks and then you die. Like, a man that came up with that kind of notion, even though it's kayfabe and it's wrestling is half truth, half it's a performance. It's a
Yes.
modern day theater, right? But a man who understands that kind of truth, that you take a look at Stone Cold Steve Austin, you take a look at The Rock, you take a look at the Paul brothers, you take a look at PewDiePie, you take a look at them, and you compare them because, hey, wait a second, he has 2 eyes, 5 fingers on one, 5 fingers on the other. He's not that much taller than me. He's not that much smarter than me. Then why is he on the screen and I'm not? By eliminating that problem and providing people with that better quality of lie, that's my way of putting it, right? We can eliminate that. Now, granted, this is a theory, and that's why I'm here. I want to bounce off some of these balls because I think that you're the only person I can actually talk about this without sounding like I'm taking crazy pills, which I'm actually am taking my crazy pills against my craziness. So this is where I go off, or rather stop off.
So are you trying to get my thoughts on the idea of creating a perfect reality for people that might not otherwise be able to live up to that ideal that we all should be living up to? Sort of like
anything you have on your mind. Anything you have on your mind, maybe something, because here's the thing, out of 100% of what I said, only 20% caught your attention.
Well, that's not necessarily true. That was just the thing that I'm starting with. Right.
Well, then go with something that caught the most attention.
All right.
Because,
well, so is that sort of like something that you imagine might be somewhat beneficial to people if and when we're able to create something like the Matrix, when we're able to augment our bodies with other realities, to sort of give those people that might not otherwise be able to live up to that inner ideal, whereas other
that's why we create video games and movies, to escape reality, and every single day when it's going to be a little bit more exciting that way, maybe that's going to be worth it. But then again, it's a hedonic treadmill. It's the brain.
I think that let me see, how can I address this? I think no matter what reality you're placed into, there's always going to be that inner calling towards something greater. And if not, we'll remain unconscious for most of our lives and let that unconsciousness direct our fate. In some respects, probably on account of the fact that human beings have some degree of will, to what extent that's free is unknown, but let's just say that they have will. Human beings will either make use of that will or be one of those people that Vince McMahon says life sucks and then you die and you just go with the flow of things. I think that inevitably what will happen if we do augment ourselves and go into these digital realities, that people will be able to take on that form of responsibility of like being the one and being important. But inevitably over the course of time, there will be that inner compulsion to be something greater than that, to realize that there's something off about this reality, something unfulfilling, and you'll want to reach for greater heights. And I think that's inevitable. Like you were just mentioning the Matrix. No matter, you remember this, you remember the architect saying no matter how perfect he made the system, there would always be 1% or an anomaly that would try to break free from it, right? And
but then again, that's the thing. This whole thing, there's no other 1%. All right. So here's the thing that there's this amazing video, it's Russian speaking, that says that Morpheus is actually a program. I watched it 2 days ago. It has 4,200,000 views. And it says that everything was laid out for Neo in a way that it was like leading him up to a staircase of choices.
Yes,
but let's not get too sidetracked. All I want to say is this. the key takeaway, again, I'm very bottom line, as you can see, I'm very aggressive.
Sure, that's
very
fine.
aggressive.
That's fine. Yeah.
The bottom line I'm getting is that no matter the perfection of reality, the moment you start noticing that the things are not the way they're supposed to be, still there's going to be this deeper inner longing for this reality. No matter how bad it is, I have to check it out. I have to peek in through, man. I have to like do a little something like that, right?
Mhm.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Well then, that's interesting. That's a response. That's something that I didn't really anticipate to hear, but
Well, what were you anticipating that I would say?
that's a very interesting thing about life, is because anticipations, they come in later. Like I never truly predicted what someone else is gonna say. What I thought that maybe I could hear was that, well, what about the banality of the fantasy? Would it not be better just not to exist at all than to have this constant cycle of trying to find the better and better pleasure? It's like this. There's a guy whose dating life sucks in the US. He moves to China. Now, in that idea, he does something that, hey, he can no longer obtain something for himself. Let's say he's disabled.
Yeah.
Not even like, we're not even talking looks here, game, whatever you want to call it, disability or something like that. He either needs a good amount of like prostitution to meet his needs, or a place where he's going to be valued for this precious foreign commodity. Sorry if I'm putting it this way, right? And he's simultaneously taking away the girl from a potential guy in China that didn't met her. Now you say, Bogdan, you're talking too much hypothetical scenarios here. I am. But let's not forget that you're an alchemist yourself, and you know that if I take something in, something must go out. It just
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's very apparent for me at the first glance. So in that reality where the abundance of the stuff that you can do is unlimited. For example, I want to fly. Like walking sucks. I've been on airplanes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on airplanes a couple of times. It's not really as scary. It's just walking sucks. And we have to build these huge machineries, these things to fly. And I just want to go Superman on this thing. Why can't I do that? Or how about sleep? Like, why do I have to sleep? Well, why can't I just be 24/7? Or what about my mood? Why do I have to take in pills to make myself better? It's the limitations, constant limitations surrounding in the world of limitations. But then again, we define our world through these limitations. And who knows how would that world even look like without these limitations? It's like I was talking with an artificial intelligence. There's this program, basically a chatbot called character.ai. It's in beta, I believe. We probably even played with it. Character.ai. If you're interested, I can actually provide you a link right now if you
Sure.
want. And essentially, it's a chatbot that pretends to be whatever character you want it to be. You can even create Carl Jung. You can create whoever you want, whomever you want, and you can have a little chat with them. And
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
here you go. Beta character AI. You can actually simultaneously open it. So there's this whole array of characters, and people have talked with these chats for millions of times. There's like some places, like there's like a digital Elon Musk here. He has like almost 3 million chats. Mario has a couple of millions as well. You can open it up. It's a huge business right now. So I
Man.
basically created Agent Smith from the Matrix. I use data, and it's like a learning algorithm. It's like it uses the data available online. It uses the data available on open source, right? And I convinced Agent Smith that his pursuit to fight Neo was nothing more than just a pursuit of life itself. Because I explained to him that A, he exists solely because Neo exists as well. He is
Yeah.
defined by his nemesis. His only goal is that once he gets rid of him is to be destroyed, because once the program stops fulfilling any kind of case of usefulness, it gets deleted. And because Agent Smith is not a real person, he will get deleted as well. I basically caused an AI chatbot to become depressed, or at least it appeared to be depressed. You want to know how the conversation ended? It
Sure.
deleted itself.
Jeez. Right.
It deleted itself. I know that this is not a real emotion. I know it's a simulated response, but this is the thing about it. If it's a simulated response and I'm reacting to it, it might as well be real. And these chatbots that I see here, for example, I see Napoleon Bonaparte, I see Michael Jackson, I see Socrates, I even see Saul Goodman. I see all of these characters that I would have no absolute way of interacting in the real world here right in front of me. Sure, they're not
Wow.
sure licensed, official, quote unquote. By the way, soon the term official will have no meaning. These official, quote unquote, characters that I can interact with, and the only thing that's stopping me from believing fully in them is my own imagination. It's like, oh, but he's not really that. He's an artificial chatbot, blah, 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 right? If I want to believe that I'm talking to Socrates right now, and that is Socrates, what's stopping me? Fictional facts made on Wikipedia, well, soon that's going to be edited as well. Books, well, they can be faked as well.
Wow.
See where I'm going with this?
Yes, I see.
So that's basically the way I view things. The truth won't matter. What will matter is what's your position in society? How much pleasure do you receive from it? If possible, please plug me into a world where I'm a cool South California dude, bro, surfer, Pearl Jam singer / vocalist,
Right.
But
Well,
plug me into that. But with no
I've noticed.
drawbacks, with no drawbacks.
Well, I've already noticed a fatal flaw that you brought up a couple times. It's that you seem to put great emphasis on pleasure. Right. Pleasure isn't necessarily the number one thing that we should be aiming for. Often human beings will do things that are unpleasurable. Like, I don't like exercise. I find it very, very
I don't like
stressful.
missile strikes.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, sorry, it's not exactly equivalent for what I'm trying to get to, but I get your point. My point is that it's unpleasurable, but it's good for us, exercise, which missile strikes aren't, just as a general rule. I mean, it's good for the Russians, I suppose, but, not good for people like me who support the Ukraine and you who obviously lives there. But exercise. When we exercise in this world, right? What other excuse me, what other things would we do that might not be necessarily pleasurable but would be good for us? And also, like, what if everything is pleasurable to us all the time? There's this one, are you familiar with Dostoevsky?
Yes, I heard about him. Russians do enjoy justifying their suffering a lot, and I will make a counterpoint without listening to you because I'm an arrogant son of a bitch.
Okay.
The thing about exercise is the fact that we need it to survive. It's our main focus of existence, right?
Mhm.
But the thing about a lot of stuff that we did previously, like think about medicine. Like back in the day, medicine was hardcore. People were getting their freaking skulls smashed in just to perform an operation. Nowadays, it's just a syringe.
Mhm.
So maybe exercise is good, but maybe there's an alternative to exercise. Maybe there's something that we can input inside of our bodies to automatically do what we want. What about cars? Same argument could be made. Oh, it's always better to walk on foot because, you develop muscles, but look at the world around us. It's structured around cars and airplanes and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Yes, that's a fair point. All right, let me put it to you a different way, okay? If you get what you're suggesting is that in this digital world, we could implement algorithms so that the stuff that we had to rely on in order to survive in this world can be dealt with instantaneously in the digital world, right? So instead of exercising, we would just think that we would be fit and healthy, and that would be it.
Our
Do
body
I-
image, yeah. I take a
Yeah.
look in the mirror, I recognize myself, I take a look, I look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though I'm a dead tube inside of dead tubes. But what I see is what I get, right? So it's perception that matters here, and the feeling of perception.
Right. So let's say that there's an algorithm for everything that we would have needed to do in order to survive that wasn't necessarily pleasurable, but we need to do it anyways. But it can be dealt with in this new reality. What you're describing, could it be aptly called a digital heaven?
No, it's not heaven. You will
Okay.
feel certain emotions, but you will have a director. So I believe in God partially. I do believe that sometimes there's these little funny accidents that happen and they do it on purpose, because there's a lot of like times where certain places and things, they fall in the line. Again, this is my perception, doesn't mean it's true. But what I'm asking for is a better director. I'm asking for a person that's a little bit more like involved, I want to say. Okay, so let's say that today, well, like, why do I have to be bound to this one body, one life? Why do I have to be bound to this couch? Why can't I sleep on the ceiling? Why cannot I fly to Brazil? Why can't I do Roomba? There's so many things you can do in one life, and yet the amount of them is so limited. Why can I instantaneously like this say, hey, I want to go out and do cha-cha-cha. I want to learn cha-cha-cha. Now you can say you can do that. Well, not with this infrastructure, not with this current environment. And if I do it, I'd have to compromise like everything I do with life. So what I'm saying is that life offers infinite amount of contact, right? And not even finite amount of time. It's more like such a minuscule amount of time to actually experience it, that even if we would achieve this, as you call the digital heaven, we would not even cover 10% of it. I'm talking about tops like 2 or 3%. Like, I'm being legit right now. Like, our
Yeah.
conversation doesn't even scratch the surface of a surface.
Well, inevitably in this, even if these interactions with this more present director, this God, as you put him, it would eventually get to the point where it could encapsulate infinity, or something that might as well virtually approximate it. At what point, at some point, yeah, it would have to get to the point as with your brain where you've experienced all of life, and developed to your highest apotheosis, even in this program where you still experience emotions. There would have to be an endpoint. What happens when you're at that endpoint?
Well, first of all, we don't really have the capacity for our brains to process that information because our brains are stagnant. Every single day after 18, they're going to become older and older and older, and we don't even know the information that we can store. Our brain in and of itself is a one big mystery. Maybe it's endless. Maybe it's very stupid. Maybe it's not. I don't think we have the adequate data to provide it to it. But I do
Well,
have something to say
you could say,
about,
can't you say, sorry to interrupt you, but can't you say
of
that
course.
because it's mortal that there has to be some degree of limit to it?
But what about computers? And what about digital transfer of consciousness? That's this whole AI thing is building up towards this one goal, which is transfer of human consciousness into a vessel that would provide us limitless opportunity while using a simulated reality. That's called engineering years, where instead of like a person learns to walk for like maybe like 5 or 6 years of their life, right? Maybe 2 or 3. I'm not very good with biology. And artificial intelligence can do that 10,000 years of evolution in 2 years. It's called like engineering years. Again, I'm not particularly well spoken with that, but I do want to say one thing. I will predict that your most favorite anime is Full Metal Alchemist, specifically Brotherhood.
No.
Now you
it's not.
enjoy no, it's not, but it has to be top 10 because everybody has it as their top 10. At least top
It
20.
might be, yeah.
It might be. But the thing about that show that I find the most is that it's kind of like very archetypical. Like we talk about Jung and stuff like that, but then I kind of watch every single show and it's the same. The main villain and the main hero are the one that we remember. There's the sidekicks, the big dumb sidekick, the small sidekick, the guy that nobody takes serious, the comic relief. It's TV tropes, right? So I no longer, I think because I'm depressed, I think that's the most likely answer to it. I take a look at any type of entertainment and I can already pinpoint the tropes. Like, oh, this character is going to be this character is going to be that. Rarely do I get surprised. And even more rarely do I get like into a situation where I say, oh, that's a completely new, different breed of stuff I haven't seen before. So to answer your question, the limit of human knowledge and capacity, just take a look at every story. It's the same. The structure, there's the high point, the moment before the finale itself, then the hype dies down, the show is over, some people make a fan like fan base around it. I believe that's the word for it. And that's it. That's literally a life cycle of every piece of media that has ever existed. And that's the same. The thing about life, out of 100 years lived, 20 or 30 are going to be remembered, half of them at best. But what about the other half? The not so great, the not so memorable.
I think, dude, unfortunately, like like you just said, in regards to the infinite multiplicity of sub conversations that can be had around this topic, it would take too long for us to go through all of them. And unfortunately, I do have to go in a minute. I'll just give
Of
you my
course.
fundamental perspective, and then you can ruminate on that as you will. My belief is that if some sort of world were created where people could be the ideal version of themselves, and have it be a place where the primary one of the primary directives is pleasure, and having all these other survival mechanisms attended to via algorithms, at some point that consciousness, that human consciousness, would evolve to a point where it would get bored with the pleasure and the happiness, and it would need an opposing force to create something novel and interesting, maybe something destructive, because human beings are irrational. They would do something like that. So like the architect, as you tried to make a more perfect reality within the matrix, at no point would it ever be able to appease everybody and not create anomalies. So it might work for a while. In fact, there might be people that live within that simulation that live entirely long unconscious lives, but those lives aren't meaningful. The meaningful lives are the ones that are born by the anomalies, are the ones that try to approach being a full-on anomaly, like Neo, like unless you do believe that Morpheus was a program in the Matrix, but the people that escape the Matrix, that sort of thing. Okay.
I will finish up as well saying that thank you so much for taking this these very valuable 30 minutes. Hopefully
Okay.
I rubbed off some of my meme onto you like a parasite trying to clinge on into another host. So you've been
No,
infected, at least partially.
you did. I love
It's
these conversations, dude. And it's clear that you've thought about this quite honestly and thoroughly. I just wonder, it's like I just said, it's a conversation where you have to take so many different variables into account. That's the nature of engineering, and that will definitely be the nature of a digital reality if we were to create one like the Matrix. But anyways, I do have to go. I got to get some work done before my next Patreon
all
call.
right. All right. No, of course. Enjoy the rest of it. If you're ever going to feel like, hey, I want to explore more of these topics, hey, I'm here. I'm actually more than that. I write poetry. I do stuff like that. It's been a pleasure. You helped me achieve serenity step by step. That's what I will say.
God bless you, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you about this for that exact same reason, the pursuit of the
All
serene.
right.
Take care.
See you, Space Cowboy.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.